For 38 years, Struckham Commercial Pest Services has provided trained certified technicians while using environmentally safe, industry-standard products. Pests can devastate your business. Together, we will ensure adequate sanitation standards and safe pest exclusion methods. Uncontrolled pest problems lead to significant financial loss due to food contamination, business disruption, and stock waste. Struckham provides detailed solutions protecting your business and reputation. Struckham, #1 in pest control services.
You are watching Now You Know.
I really would like to see where the government tries to see where we can become more self-sufficient.
This episode is brought to you by Struckham Commercial Pest Services, Alma's Loft, a 5-star Airbnb, and Greenwood Landscape Maintenance and Management Services.
All right. Are there any global initiatives that we have not yet implemented locally that you wish we would implement specific to your industry?
Well, I'm a component and a supporter of the WTO. Can you believe that?
Okay.
Reason being is that if you were part of the WTO, everybody has sets their own rules and how they would participate in the WTO. That is then presented to the other countries that participate. And these are the rules that you want for your industry should we enter the WTO, right? Now, I say that because we have all of these billion-dollar hotels, cruise ships, airplanes, all of these people that are flagged and built in the Bahamas. Who carry those insurances? You understand?
Okay.
All right, so now all of these major contracts are coming in. Instead of an outside entity insuring it, we have a right, because we're a part of the WTO, we're part of the table with all of these deals are making. We can say, we have this insurance company, these brokers that are locally, they can make contact with another entity overseas, and then now we're sharing in it.
Well, it's interesting. The legal profession in the Bahamas has determined that it prefers to remain as insular as possible to protect, the local profession. I mean, internationally, firms are going cross borders, there's a lot of cross-border work and being able to move into other jurisdictions. The Bahamas, and I guess the Bahamas Bar, has been resistant to that and has been concerned that that is going to impact its members adversely. So that does not seem to be something that's on the horizon imminently. I think, though, what you're finding is, again, with the use of technology, and a number of firms locally are parts of international affiliations, international associations of firms and attorneys, and so there's opportunity for cross-reference, cross-referral of work from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So again, with the use of technology, the world is a lot smaller place.
Governments need to focus more on many of our international treaties and ensuring that we apply them in our countries. For example, we agreed at the United Nations to the Sustainable Development Goals, which replaced the Millennium Development Goals in 2015. And the Sustainable Development Goals is a collection of 17 global goals designed to be the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all.
The Caribbean Pest Control Association.
Okay.
We're trying to do it from a Caribbean standpoint, because what's happening is the industry is extremely cutthroat. lack of a better terms, in the Bahamas. They're not going after the same dollar. So we try to implement from a Caribbean standpoint first, and then we can move down to having one here in the Bahamas. I think the reason why that is needed is because we need to sit at the table with the government when they're discussing different issues, because a pest control man or a pest control guy is someone that's very important when it comes to controlling diseases. I think if you have an outbreak of rodents, there's a lot of different diseases they carry and things like that. So we're very important. No one wants to talk about us, but we're needed to control roaches and rats.
Right.
Global initiatives in general in health that allow, as a country, we see how persons matriculate, let's say, for example, from medical school into specialized training, and there's a plan for that. There is a set things that are set out for your people that will allow them to be able to be involved in these processes. And we haven't yet reached where we need to reach in that regard. And I think if we plan for it, perhaps we should have planned for it some time ago, but nonetheless, we're still here. We can plan for it so that we're able to train more locally, so that we don't lose more of our brightest and best persons because we don't have the capacity to train, and then we're not preparing for these persons who technically should be paid on the scale that is considered acceptable in the world, because we're still behind the 8 ball in a lot of those instances.
So in the religious world, we have quite a number of organizations around the world that partner very closely with the church and with, of course, Christian organizations or religious organizations. And they partner very closely as it relates to training, as it relates to development, as it relates to equipping the person so that they are ready. In the last crisis that we had, in society in general, we found that the government and the relevant authorities leaned very heavily on the church to support them during the crisis. And so I think, more partnership, more training, more programs, more development. It's happening around the world, Canada, the US, Europe, where they are empowering the church as far as possible to be able to help persons through the crisis so that it's really not a burden on the government or on the relevant authorities. In some parts of the world, it is mandatory for you to do certain programs in order to lead a church or to become a religious leader. There are certain programs that you have to go through and to be qualified to do, this type of religious work. And so I think that would be key, that would be important to get the government on board to support the churches or the religious leaders in a more meaningful way to help to deal with crisis.
I did some research about this little city in Canada named Channel Port aux Bas, Newfoundland. And what I see they have, and I mean, it amazes me. They centered their whole community around this child with autism. The stores have posters that say, hey, we're autism friendly. And it don't only have to be autism. It could be any special needs. The fire department, the food stores, the restaurants, we are trying, but I think we need to be even more sensitive to kids with special needs. There are times when you go out in the community and if your child acts a certain way, people stare. We want that to stop.
When we talk about employee well-being, etc., launched these wearable technologies around employee wellness so that they could monitor how employees are doing moving forward relative to health and wellness and etc. And I thought that was so exciting. And even though you may have privacy issues there, you want to monitor my health, but I think what it brought was a more engaged workforce. So in terms of those wearable techie gadgets to monitor employees' well-being and their wellness through technology, I thought that's an innovative concept that we want to embrace locally. And then in terms of predictive analytics, it's not just about turnover reports, it's about predicting the future of work, but also utilizing that predictive analytics and the data that we get in order to make and help the organization to make better business decisions.
Digital banking, digital sales, digital business. You have some people who pay lip service to it, and we just haven't gone there in a big way. We haven't gone there fast enough, and we really need to move there. Even without COVID, that's where the world has gone, and we've been really, really slow to embrace it in the Bahamas and make it possible. Okay, now we are forced to reach out to customers. Now we are forced to enable our colleagues to work from home, but we really haven't gone down that road.
Oh Lord, that question. You sure you want us to tackle that one? Let me tell you.
You get used.
Let me tell you. We've recently started an online broadcast that we do each Sunday, and what we do is we connect with other artists our friends throughout the world, right? So Canada, all over Europe, and the Caribbean, so all over, right? The US. And just to make that happen, Denise, has been a nightmare. We are so far behind when it comes to technology that is embarrassing. And so I think we need to catch up with the world in that respect. And unless we do, we're going to be left behind.
What I would like to see happen, I think this is something that existed even before COVID. And we've had discussions as members of, retailers who were invited many years back and on several occasions by the government to speak in terms of self-sufficiency as far as food sources are concerned. I really would like to see where the government tries to see where we can become more self-sufficient on certain items. I think if we just chose 10 basic produce items that we actually have in place, we can be easier in terms of handling a lot of the food stuff that we have. Basic things like tomatoes, onions, potatoes, sweet peppers. Those are some of the main things in a Bahamian diet. We just chose 10 items and choose places where they can be grown, and being able to grow those things, so you don't have the same farmer A growing and farmer B growing the exact same product at the same time, and you have a whole lot of spoilage. Being able to produce those things, and I think those things can actually happen. At one time, we had a farm here called Gladstone Farm. We no longer have Gladstone Farms anymore, but we can still produce chickens. We still have we had a Rainbow Farms that used to produce eggs. We no longer have Rainbow Farms anymore, but we now have to import all of these items. So our basic stability in our country, as far as food supply is concerned, is breached.
If you enjoyed today's episode of Now You Know, please like, share, and subscribe, because now you know.